Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we're going to talk about ducks. And we're going to talk about something every duck keeper eventually has to do, and that's handling ducks. Now, ducks may look sweet and innocent waddling around the yard, but let me tell you, when you need to actually catch one, suddenly they turn into Olympic sprinters with wings. So, first of all, I want you to notice how he's holding her. He's supporting the main weight of her body, and he's got her wings held against her body so they don't flail. Okay, we'll talk about why that's important in a minute, but you'll notice that he's not holding the neck, he's not holding the legs, he's not putting any weight or pressure on her neck or her legs. That is really important. Ducks cannot handle being handled by their necks or their legs. Do not do it. Okay, handle them gently and with care. And in her case, he's supporting the weight of her body and he's keeping her wings under control. Now we're just going to let her go off to her friends and we'll talk more. She's annoyed. She did not want to be picked up, but sometimes you gotta, because ducks are cool, but sometimes you gotta pick them up. So let's talk about ducks and how to handle them and picking them up and all that fancy stuff. Whether it's for a health check, a vet visit, or just because you want to know which one has been sneaking extra peas from the feed bucket, at some point you need to know how to handle your ducks safely. You're going to need to know how to pick them up, how to catch them. And bonus, we'll try to do it without turning you into the star of your neighbor's next viral video titled Crazy Farmer Chasing Ducks. So let's dive in and talk about how to safely and effectively handle your ducks. We don't have trouble catching ours, but that's because we do the work ahead of time. Okay? So here's the thing. Handling ducks starts long before you just reach out and grab one. If you suddenly go tearing through your yard, flapping your arms, they'll be gone before you know it. Ducks are built for the chase, and you're not going to win. Okay? You are not going to simply chase them down and grab them unless you are incredibly fast and you can get under things that they can get under. So instead of trying to outrun them, make them your friend. Bribe them. Treats work wonders. That's how we caught her. We just bring out the treats, feed everyone a few treats, pick up the duck of your choice. Okay? A handful of peas will turn you from a terrifying human into the magical pea dispenser. And if you're the magical pea dispenser, your ducks are more likely to come and hang out with you because you have peas and they love peas. Pretty soon they'll be waddling right up to you. Train them to walk into a small pen at meal times, and catching them is even easier. Okay, so if you always feed them in the same area, we always feed ours in that pen there. It is easy to block it off and to keep the animals where we need them to be and grab them a little bit easier. If you are having trouble catching them, feed them in an enclosed pen, even if they free range. Our guys free range all the time, but it's a good idea to have a spot where you feed them that you can close the door or block off, so grabbing them is a little bit easier. Now, I'm not saying you should never use a net, and I will say we sometimes use a net, but sometimes a duck decides today is the day to test your cardio. Okay? I don't love nets. I prefer getting them to come to me and picking them up gently. But if someone is sick, right? If there's a bird that is sick and you need to catch them and they need attention, medical attention, if they're sick or injured and they won't let you pick them up, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. A long-handled fishing net comes in handy specifically for these scenarios. But be warned, ducks in nets kind of look like toddlers at a birthday party. They're going to be flailing around and screaming and not impressed with any of the choices you've ever made in your life. So if you are going to use a net on your ducks, be prepared for them to hate your guts over it. Okay? They're going to think you're the worst human being. Even if you're doing it for their health, they don't care. Okay? And getting them back out of the net, so now you've caught them in the net. How do you get them out? That's a trick and a half. There's going to be feathers everywhere, and if you can avoid it, skip the net, go with your hands. Use the net only when you have no other choice. Not only will your ducks thank you, but so will your laundry. Because if you have to get a duck back out of a net, there's going to be mess everywhere. They're going to be the angriest thing. And you want to learn about projectile pooping? Try to wrangle a duck out of a net that doesn't want you to touch them. If you can, go with catching by hand gently. Now, if you are going to have to go wrangle your ducks, it's not a fashion show. Wear long sleeves, not because you're making a runway statement, but because they have nails. I should have showed you her nails. Ducks have nails. You don't always think about it because they have the webbed feet, but they absolutely 100% have nails. Okay? They have nails and they will scratch the heck out of your arms. So, long sleeves. Also, they poop a lot. You know what people say when people tell you to dress for the job you want, not the job you have? Well, if that involves catching ducks, dress for scratches, and the likelihood of walking away with, let's call it a souvenir, because you're going to be covered in everything, okay? Mud and poop, and if it exists, you're covered in it, because it's going to be a heck of a job, okay? All right, now you've cornered your duck. Let's talk about picking them up. Golden rule. Wings, legs, neck, off limits. You do not grab them by the wings, the legs, or the neck. Okay? Grabbing a duck by the wing is like grabbing you by your ear. It's not fun. It's not a good idea. It's going to injure the animal. Okay? So instead, again, like we showed you earlier, hold that duck with the wings gently against the body with both hands. If that's not working, cradle the neck, like stick the neck under your arm so you have the head under your arm, and hold the body like this, kind of like a football, and be holding that duck like this and hold that with that neck under here so they can't really see what's going on, because that makes them a little easier to handle if they can't see what's going on. We have a duck getting in a waterer, whatever. Good job, Donald. Yeah, Donald's all the way in the waterer. Whatever. I don't care. But you want to when you go to grab your duck, if it's having a fit, try to get right down on the ground, get that head under your armpit, and kind of just scoop from underneath, clasp, lift duck. Okay, depending on the size of your duck, it can be more or less effective. But the fun part is ducks are going to paddle their feet like crazy when you pick them up. Okay, she was fairly relaxed, but that's because she's used to us picking her up and doing weird stuff. Our birds are really used to being manhandled. So if you have to pick up a duck that's not really used to it, expect they're going to paddle with their feet. Okay? It's like they think they're swimming, except now they're trying to swim right through your shirt, which is effective. And that's why you need to secure their feet or get your hands away from their feet. You either need to clasp them in such a way that they can't paddle at you and rake your nails on your skin, or just keep yourself completely free of their feet entirely. There is no middle ground. So if you're handling a duck, either get away from those feet or restrain those feet. You don't want them on your skin. It's not fun at all, okay? So we usually just let their feet dangle, but ours really don't kick that much because they're quite used to us picking them up. They're not overly distressed about it. So if they're used to it, it goes better. Now, some ducks are really chill about it. Others are not chill about anything. Bigger ducks especially may decide your face looks like a perfectly good target. If that happens, try to face the duck away from you. Like you saw, her face was facing mine and she was totally fine. But if you have a duck that's trying to go for your face, don't carry them so that their face is right here. Carry them so that they're facing away from you. Okay? The bill pointing away from you means that you will be a little bit safer. And then you don't end up explaining why you have a black eye from a duck. But just to be clear, they're not mean by nature. They're not plotting your downfall. They're not after you. If they feel threatened, they may react. Okay? And honestly, if a giant hand came swooping in to pick me up, I'd probably peck at them too. So understand that if they're not used to you picking them up, they're uncomfortable, they're uncertain, they're going to react. Okay. Now, what about when all of it's over? You have picked up your duck, you have dealt with whatever you need to deal with, and then she is going back to her group. Okay, now what? Well, don't forget about yourself at this point. Now, I am not an alarmist, I'm not a reactionary, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. However, ducks carry salmonella, and even a mild case is not the farm adventure you want. Okay, so after having your hands all over your duck and in places you'd rather not think about, it is time to wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water. If you don't have that handy, use sanitizer, but soap and water is superior. That is Saruman. That's Saruman. That's him making about as much noise as a Saruman's gonna make. He's awesome. We love him. He's a good bird. Anyway, back over here. Okay. There he goes. But definitely, yeah, definitely make sure that you are cleaning yourself up. Soap and water if you can, sanitizer if you must. Okay, soap and water is better. Because here's the thing, nobody wants to spend their week explaining to the doctor, yeah, I got food poisoning, but it wasn't from food, it was from my duck. Okay? So, wash your hands, go get cleaned up after you handle your ducks. Yes, they can carry salmonella. They absolutely can, especially if you got pooped on. Go get cleaned up. So, quick recap. Make friends with your ducks. Save that net for emergencies. Dress like you're about to wrestle a feathery tornado. And hold them gently. Support the feet or stay away from the feet. And carry backward if necessary. And wash your hands afterwards, okay? Handling ducks isn't about strength. It's about patience, humor, and being just a little bit quicker than they are. That's about it for me here today at Andersen Acres. I hope you feel a little more confident about handling your ducks, and maybe you laughed a little along the way. Now, tell me in the comments, what's the funniest or craziest way you've had to catch a duck? We generally don't have that much crazy stuff when it comes to catching them. They are well used to us picking them up. But did you end up diving into a pond, or were you the star of the duck chase unintentionally? I would love to hear your stories. It's always funny. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and we will see you tomorrow.